We all have 24 hours a day, but in the end, only a few people make so much money, while the majority go home with little or nothing. There have been instances where people become so rich within a very short time, while others remain poor for the rest of their lives. There is something about wealth that causes an individual to attract so much money. At an innovation summit in Tel Aviv, Israel, Jack Ma, who was the richest man in China, said, and I quote, "When I was young, I hated Bill Gates because I thought Microsoft took all the opportunities." Unquote. He didn't understand how money works then, but when he understood, he seized his moment and became the richest man in China. In this video, we will understand how ordinary people are able to gain so much wealth to the extent that generations after them continue to enjoy their riches even when they are no more around. Money is the language both the poor and the rich understand, yet it cannot be expressed equally. If we took all the money in the world and shared it among ourselves, it will still end up in the same pockets, because the wealthy people attract money. So how does money really work? Stay tuned and let's get into it. This is Bernard, and you are watching African Dream Motivation. Without wasting much time, let's begin. The whole concept of money began right from the beginning of time. There was nothing like a medium of exchange or a store of value. What was really done was a direct exchange, which was later referred to as barter trade. During those days, everything was based on supply and demand. If I have fish and you have bread, and let's say I need some bread, I will have to bring you my fish in exchange for your bread. In this case, the measure of value was problematic, with no universal basis for exchange. In another twist, I may be interested in your bread, but you might not be interested in my fish. Therefore, we cannot establish a common ground for an exchange to be made, even though my product may be highly valuable, but it is simply not needed by you. Gradually, common grounds were reasoned out, and groups of people began having a common medium of exchange. Many items were used from shekels through to the invention of the first paper money in Song Dynasty, China, during the 17th century. But in all these, two things remain key to the success of the introduction of money. The first is that it should be a store of value. This means that for anything to be considered as a medium of exchange, it should be able to store value. Those days when barter trade was used, when one party is not interested in the product the other is offering, the success of the transaction becomes defeated and therefore null and void. But with the presence of a medium that serves as a store of value, the buyer then issues it as payment and receives the desired product, while the seller holds the value of his sold item in monetary terms, capable of trading it off later for something else, equivalent to the value of item sold. This proves that a medium of exchange's ability to store value is one factor that sustains it. The second part we will consider here is that the general public must indeed trust that the value of money the seller holds reflects the true representation of the item sold. With this in the right perspective, whenever one possesses money of a certain value, he can acquire things in real time in its equivalent. Therefore, money is a store of value and is trusted by its users. So the more value you provide, the more of it you earn. So again, how does money work? Go through history from the very beginning of time to today, and you will realize that those who attract so much money are mostly the ones who give so much value. These people work so hard to present something valuable to the world. They go through the process of thinking outside the box, working hard and persevering to bring a nearly perfect substance of value out, And once the world is able to trust their product enough to understand its worth, it automatically attracts so much wealth. This is how money works. This is how millionaires and billionaires are made. Let's consider a scenario here. A man walks to your house and begs for $10, of which you give it to him. Comes again the next day and keeps coming every day. One day, you walk outside your house and realize he does it to every person in the neighborhood. It will get to a point, no one will be willing to give this man money anymore. In another scenario, another man walks to your house and presents a product he had purchased from a wholesaler and has added a profit of $10 to it. You purchase the product and you see so much value in it. When he comes again, you will be more willing to buy from him. If he does that in the whole community, he will soon be making so much money. The difference between the two is that the latter is offering value, and that is what attracts the extra money he makes. Ask people for money, and many will ignore you, but offer something valuable, and they won't hesitate to throw their wallet at you. As I emphasized at the beginning of the video, money as a store of value has to do with value creation. The more you provide value, the more you increase your wealth. You hear stories of people climbing the ladder of success every now and then, but you'll be surprised where they are coming from, the circumstances surrounding them, and how they were able to amass so much wealth. How does it all start? It all begins with an interest, something you are fascinated about, something you are willing to do even if it's not making you money at the moment. It could be anything at all, but your interest in it makes it a self-motivating journey. In the early 1900s, the automobile industry in Japan was undergoing tremendous transformation. A young boy was fascinated by the first car that was ever seen in his village. He was so inspired and loved it to the extent that, for the rest of his life, he never forgot the smell of the oil the car used. Fast forward to his latter years, he founded the Honda Motor Company Limited. Until today, it is one of the biggest brands in the automobile industry. Soichiro Honda became a billionaire. It all began with an interest, and throughout his life, he was self-motivated. Having an interest in something helps in building confidence to pursue the goal. J K Rowling became the first billionaire author after publishing her book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. She was interested in writing right from childhood. She wrote her first story when she was 6 years old, and after so many years, this interest led her to write the Harry Potter series. And guess what? The idea came on a delayed train from Manchester to London in 1990. While she began writing the story, she was in the darkest place of her life. She was struggling through clinical depression. She divorced from an abusive relationship, became a single mother, and had serious financial difficulties. In all this, when the idea came, she was able to take a difficult but necessary step forward to do what she was interested in. Her interest in writing guided her to create a masterpiece that changed her life forever. When you follow your heart and do what you love, no matter how impossible the future seems, you are able to find some intrinsic motivation that pushes you to still persevere and pursue your dream. The evolutionary inventor Henry Ford, when he was a child, his father bought a watch for him, and guess what? He was able to study the watch and observe how the timepiece was assembled. His interest in mechanics got him the name a watch repairman when he was just a boy. That interest later is what led him to build the famous Ford V8 model, which had 8 cylinders cast in one block. This was the game changer for Ford Company and made it one of the most reputable brands in the world. An interest in something takes you on an adventurous ride that by the time you are done, the experience will be priceless. And most importantly, it will connect you to the future in a way you least imagined. One thing that makes Apple products stand out is the typographical designs it has. It all began when Steve Jobs was about to leave college. He had no money, and his parents were so poor that they couldn't afford his tuition fees. Even though he was stepping out of school, something caught his eye. The typographical design of the billboards on campus were so beautiful, and his interest led him on an adventure that helped explore the creativity in him. At the time, he didn't really know where his interest might lead him, but he followed it anyway and mastered the art of typography. The dot connected many years later when Apple was designing their first product. The result was remarkable, and this began the company's long-term dominance in the tech industry. It was an interest in typography that started it all. Having a strong desire is key to your success. Sometimes your skills and capabilities will have to go through fire before you can present the value you offer to the world. It is at this peak that wealth is attracted. A strong desire in the pursuit of greatness is very significant. Charlie Chaplin is celebrated and honored as one of the world's greatest entertainers of all time. Both parents were musical entertainers, and at the age of 5, he started performing on stage. His desire was to be an entertainer like his mother. He was so interested in his craft, and his interest guided him to grow and develop into what the world knows him for today. At the peak of his career, he wrote the script, produced, edited, and also composed songs for his movies. His desire to be a great entertainer kept him following his dream in the toughest of times, and that burning desire kept him persevering one day after the other until he was at the top of his career. Everything great takes time, and patience is only understood when there is interest. Stan Lee is the brain behind Marvel's success. Today, the world knows him for his iconic character creation such as X-Men, Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, Fantastic Four, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, just to name a few. But it all began in his youth when he was interested in writing. When he was in high school, he took part in a writing competition and won it 3 consecutive times. His outstanding performance made the organizers of the contest advise him to pursue writing as a career. He took the advice and explored a career in writing. At a point in his life, he was just writing obituaries and press releases. This is how he began, and gradually, his interest pushed him a step further to become an international genius. Check out the success stories of Trevor Noah, Jewel Kilcher, Colonel Sanders, Tyler Perry, William Kamkwamba, George Weah, and many others on this channel, and you will realize that at a certain point in their lives, they had to fall on their interests and desires to be able to keep going. Because as the journey progresses, you will be tested to the extremities of your abilities, and if you are not interested in what you are doing, you will easily give up. When you are in the quietest time of your journey, and all the people who believed in you had left or are silent, it is your desire that holds you up and sparks the faith in you to persist. If you are not motivated from within, the forces from outside will break you. What is it that you are interested in? If you haven't found it yet, keep searching, because that is where it begins. If you have found something you are interested in, the question is, how best can what you are interested in or what you can do improve the lives of people or solve a problem? This takes us to the next chapter of this video. Find a problem you can solve or a product you can improve. Having an interest in something alone does not answer it all. How can your interest be pursued in a way to solve a problem or improve the lives of people? That is a big question here. Let's consider great automobile companies like Ford and Tesla. Before Henry Ford came up with the idea of building the famous V8 automobile, he saw an opportunity to improve the engine of automobiles available and decided to take it. Even when he tasked his engineers to cast 8 cylinders in one block, they said it was impossible. Right from the beginning, his goal was to cause an improvement in what was available and persevered until it was successful. It became his trademark, skyrocketing his business to a whole new level. He improved on an already existing product to establish an outstanding brand. Since then, the automobile industry has undergone a series of transformational changes. In 2004, Elon Musk invested $6.5 million in Tesla and became the largest shareholder of the company, and also became its chairman. He focused on working hard to create an electric car. In 2008, Tesla Motors released its first electric car, called the Roadster. The company rose to the mainstream of the industry, solving a great environmental problem of air pollution, which was as a result of the use of petrol and diesel. So to really be different and create more value, which will in turn attract more wealth, you need to solve a problem or improve on an existing product to give people a beautiful experience. Many people were interested in the production of cars, but Elon Musk and the Tesla company made it a priority to solve the problem of air pollution, and by solving the problem, he became a multi-billionaire. Almost all the time, our daily activities present opportunities to us in disguise. It is always up to us to either see it as an opportunity or just brush it off and consider it an everyday problem. In the 1990s, a lady by name Michelle Mone was painfully laid off from her marketing job. While she was at home, she attended a dinner dance and she felt uncomfortable as a result of the cleavage-enhancing brassiere she was wearing. Right there, she identified the problem and decided to solve it. She began working on it, experimenting with how to create a more comfortable cleavage-enhancing brassiere. After 3 years of research and hard work, she was able to establish a £39 million business with her husband. She went from jobless to a millionaire because she found a problem and decided to solve it. There may be a $1 billion business opportunity presenting itself to you every single day in the form of a problem. Be a problem solver and it shows how valuable you are. If your solution can help 1 million people tackle a problem, you are on the verge of creating so much value, and in return, you will attract so much wealth. Let's look at one of the greatest inventions on the planet, the light bulb. The race for the creation of a long-lasting bulb was keen from the 19th century to the 20th century. In 1800, a scientist called Alessandro Volta began making progress in the creation of the light bulb. His hard work and significant contribution to the progress of the light bulb is the reason why electric measurement, which is volt, was named after him. Scientists like Humphrey Davy, James Bowman Lindsay, Warren de la Rue, and British physicist Joseph Swan contributed significantly to improve the state of the light bulb. So when Thomas Edison was working on it, he considered what the others had done and researched deep to improve his work. In 1878, he finally succeeded in creating the functioning light bulb that was able to last longer, more than the others had done. These great improvements led to the establishment of the Edison Electric Company, which later employed Henry Ford and Nikola Tesla, who became highly influential in the automobile industry. After Thomas Edison had had so much interest in science from childhood, the next thing was to make a difference and improve upon the lives of people. Thomas Edison became so wealthy because he provided a solution to the problem of billions of people. Sometimes, the people who actually face the problem may have suffered for so long that it becomes normal and may see nothing wrong with their situations. But the moment an improvement is available, they realize the need for a change. There are a lot of products out there that has so much room for improvement. If you can find that and work towards making the world a better place than you were given, your life will never be the same. In India, a young man got married and realized that his wife was using filthy rags during her menstrual period. The excuse the wife gave was that sanitary napkins were expensive, and after finding out from other women, this man realized it was a problem a lot of women and young ladies were facing in India and other parts of the world, especially places where there are a lot of people living below the poverty line. He had found a problem. The next thing was to find a solution. Today, Arunachalam Muruganantham is a multi-millionaire because he was able to research and create an affordable sanitary napkin for women to use. By doing that, he solved the problem of billions of people. The value he created attracted so much wealth. So whatever you are interested in, or whatever you do, how can this solve a problem or improve the lives of people? If you are able to make these connections, you are on your way to making so much wealth. Many people like Damon Jones, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and the others identified something they could improve or a problem they could solve. And by doing that, they presented so much value which brought them where they are today. After you've been able to identify a problem you want to solve or a product you want to improve, you need to master the skills to be able to present something of true value. This brings us to the next chapter. It is only adventurous if the path you are taking is something you are interested in. That is why from the beginning of this video, I made it clear that find something you are interested in, because it is easier to get through the learning curves when you are motivated intrinsically. When you are convinced that this is something you want to do, it comes down to being a master of it. To be sincere, there will be a lot of people who are also pursuing that goal, but the only way for you to stand out is to be really good, because it is only those who offer so much value attract so much wealth. It is that simple. Today, in almost every part of the world, you will come across a KFC outlet. The brand is so huge that it has over 24,000 outlets in more than 145 countries and territories around the world. It all began with one man, Colonel Sanders. This is the man who was so good in selling fried chicken to the extent that he was able to build a multi-billion-dollar empire with it. But the truth is that he mastered the art of cooking when he was a child. After his father died, his mother had to work so hard to take care of the family. So while she was away, someone needed to step in and take charge of the kitchen. That was exactly what Sanders did. So many years later, after jumping from one job to the other, the dots connected and the long perfected skills came in handy. He began his company in his adjacent living quarters, and gradually, the exceptional taste of his fried chicken was rumored all over Kentucky. Shell Oil Company gave him their service space before he moved to a restaurant across the street in Kentucky. He gained so much recognition, and in 1935, the governor of Kentucky, Ruby Laffoon, named him a Kentucky Colonel. Today, the company generates over $2 billion a year. It all began as a child in his mom's kitchen, mastering the art of cooking. Being educated is a great step, but when it is without any interest, it becomes very difficult to succeed. A man was so successful in making chocolate to the extent that the International Chocolate Day is celebrated on his birthday. Milton Hershey became an international icon following his success in the chocolate industry. In 1871, Milton dropped out of school and was taken to a German and English newspaper publisher for him to understudy him as an apprentice. This wasn't something he was really interested in, so he was later fired and his mother sent him to a confectioner to learn how to make candy. This was something the 14-year-old was really interested in, and in a matter of 4 years, Milton Hershey had mastered it to an outstanding level that he was able to relocate to Philadelphia to begin his own business. His business became an international sensation and the Hershey Chocolate Company was established. His company has survived many decades, positioning him as a genius in the industry. He was successful because after dropping out of school, he found something he was interested in and he put in the effort to learn and improve for 4 good years before stepping out to compete. Mastering your skills and improving in whatever you are studying is a key factor to pushing you closer to the bigger opportunity. Because if you do not have the qualifying skill or knowledge, how can you make it through the fierce competition? You may be good, but that is not enough. You need to be outstanding. In the early 1970s, a young man named Silvester Stallone was very interested in acting. He had tried so many times to be picked up in auditions, but he was always turned down. While still waiting for an opportunity, he learned how to write a script for a movie and perfected his skills as the days went by. One day, he witnessed a fight between Muhammad Ali and Chaplin. This gave him an idea and he started to write a script for an actual movie. It took him 3 days and 20 straight hours to get the job done. He had no money on him and had even sold his dog just to raise money to survive. After he was able to put his skills into practice, he began searching for a movie production company to sell to. After being turned down so many times, he found one, but they still wouldn't feature him in the movie. He negotiated for a reduced pay to get a spot in the movie. The compromise was accepted and he became the lead character of Rocky Balboa. The movie became an international hit, launching a highly successful career. He became a multi-millionaire and one of the most successful actors in the world. It all began with a skill of writing a script, and that pushed him to have the courage to even try to make it happen. You might be still waiting for a good opportunity, but while you wait, learn something and keep improving. It always pushes you a step ahead of the competition, or in Silvester Stallone's case, create your own opportunity. Talking about the mastery of skills, there was a young man in his 20s who had even thought of committing suicide and attempted it. His name is Tyler Perry. Today, he owns the biggest movie production studio in the United States, and he is a billionaire. It all started when he was watching the Oprah Winfrey Show back in the 1990s. A guest on the show described that sometimes the therapeutic effect the art of writing can have, enabling the actor to work on his or her own problems. Tyler Perry was going through so much in life, so this statement sparked something within him. Right away, he got so much interested in writing. He was not perfect yet, but he still started out. He began writing letters to himself, and so many years later, these writings became the backbone of his acting career. Even when he began starting his plays, he spent all his savings on it and still failed. He continued learning, restaging and improving upon it one day after the other. In his late 20s, he had perfected his art and everyone loved him. At a point in his career, he became the highest paid man in entertainment. He later became a billionaire because he mastered his skills and perfected it after each failure to emerge successful. Finally, to really master your skills, to reach the level where everyone sees you as extraordinary and phenomenal, you need to be focused. Floyd Mayweather is one man who demonstrated greater focus in his career. Despite his background of a rough childhood and the neighborhood that was so challenging to be focused, he moved beyond what everyone expected and established a flawless career. He surrounded himself with people who understood his dream and also served as a form of encouragement to push him to the next level. He considered boxing the only profession he ever wanted to do. He began his learning process at a young age, tapping so much from his father, who was a former boxer, and his two uncles, who were also boxers. He had a goal, and he knew that to be great, he had to master the art of boxing. At the age of 19, he carried the American flag to the Olympic Games and took the stage and made it his own. He went on to defeat 22-year-old Lorenzo Aragon of Cuba and became the first United States boxer to defeat a Cuban in 20 years. He had trained harder and worked smarter, so in the end, he was up to the challenge. No good work ever exists without resilience in training and mastery of art. This is how success is actually cooked. This is the foundation upon which masterpieces are built. Nothing good is done in haste, because it takes time for great things to actually be valued for what it is really worth. Therefore, from the starting point to the finishing point, one must demonstrate the art of true perseverance. This is where the boys are separated from the men. And this brings us to our next chapter. The art of true perseverance. All these people we see on top of the world today have been through their ups and downs. To really succeed in life, you must be ready to go through the obstacles to emerge victorious. So many people give up when it gets tougher, but it takes a determined mind to go through the obstacles and still emerge successful. This is how the top 1% are separated from the remaining 99%. If it is easy, everyone will do it. You need to psych your mind that it is not easy out there. You might be skilled or might have mastered your field, but the ultimate challenge are what you face on the job. There have been instances where people have doubted their capabilities. For instance, Jim Carrey, who considered himself a master of impressions, lost confidence and never wanted to return to the stage after his first major performance was abysmal. But with perseverance, he was able to become a household name. Nothing great starts easy. It is at this point that great talent die off and extraordinary people begin to think small and see their potentials as nothing. If you do not hold on and persevere, what could have been so great can become so worthless. You need to have a persevering mindset. When you are starting something new, compare it to the process a seed goes through to become a big tree. Most of the time, when the seed is placed in the soil, it takes a long time under the ground with nothing really going on the outside. It is invisible. There is no sign on the surface, and nothing really goes on for others to see. But at the same time, it is going through a root growth process, which is very vital to the entire life of the plant. Then, when it's all done, it sprouts out and everyone sees great progress. This is how the journey of success is. You might be skilled and might even be better than the people who are in the mainstream now. But if you have tried so hard and you still don't see any progress, don't dwell on it so much. Keep learning and improving. It is just a matter of time. In those moments of waiting, failing and trying again, you will get better, and soon you will be able to make a bold statement that will take you ahead of the competition and establish you on a higher ground. This is how great brands are made. This is how success comes about. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, went through so many obstacles in life. He failed his college entrance exam 3 times. Once he ruled out college, he applied to 30 different jobs and got rejected. When KFC first got to China and was recruiting, he applied and was among 24 others who went for the interview. Out of the 24, 23 were employed, and he was the only one rejected. When he wanted to further his education, he applied to Harvard 10 times and was rejected each time. After all this stress and struggles, in 1999, he founded Alibaba, which became the company with the highest IPO in history on the New York Stock Exchange market, making him the richest man in China at some point in his life. If he had given up, he might have been nobody by now. In the quest of creating something outstanding, your ability to persevere in the pursuit of your dream will be tested. The storm will surely come down, but the question is, will you still be holding on to your dream when it does? One of the greatest inventions ever recorded in the history of mankind is the light bulb. This was one masterpiece that demanded so many failures. It is known that Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. Going further back, many other scientists who made advances before Thomas Edison also had multiple failures. So it was something so sophisticated that it seemed impossible, but as determined as he was, he continued failing and improving because each failure gave him a clue of what to do next. Therefore, the 1,001 time he succeeded, and guess what? His invention made him so popular and so rich that he founded 14 companies. If he had given up on the 100th time or the 1,000th time, all his effort would have gone down the drain. One day, a reporter asked him, "How did it feel to fail 1,000 times?" Edison replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention of 1,000 steps." When he was asked about his other inventions, which he was still struggling to make headway, he replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Think about that. Edison saw it as an opportunity for him to know which step wouldn't work, therefore allowing him to narrow down on success. Are you already giving up after a couple of failures? If you have failed, it means you have been able to know one way it wouldn't work. Therefore, you can try another way which might just do the magic. After World War II, a man by the name Akio Morita, who was a Navy in the Japanese army, resigned to start his own business. The first item he invented was the rice cooker, but instead of the rice cooker to cook rice, it burnt rice instead. He had invested so much money and produced it in larger quantities. That was a great loss. It was so frustrating because his family had a business that was passed down from generation to generation, and it was his time to take over the mantle, but he really wanted to start his own business. He decided to allow his junior brother to run the business while he concentrates on his own. The time period he was embarking on his invention was a time where materials were scarce as a result of the World War. But he strived to find materials and used them for what he wanted to do. So struggling to find material for a project and failing wasn't something to be taken lightly. He then developed a tape recorder, which sadly never sold. He and his friend were working in a small radio repair shop, experiencing failure after failure. From experience gotten so far after failing many times, he developed the first transistor radio in the world called the Walkman. This became an instant success, taking his business off the ground to the international stage. The brand name Sony was everywhere. Till today, they are still in business, creating many outstanding products. He learned through perseverance how to turn failure into success. In your quest to make a difference and touch lives around the world, you will have to stand by your dream and protect it at all costs. Most of us know J K Rowling after the famous Harry Potter series took off like crazy. In fact, her books made her the first billionaire author. Looking at her story before the fame, she was a poor and depressed single mother who had divorced from an abusive marriage and was struggling to survive. When she finished the first book in the series, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, she was turned down by 12 different publishers. They claimed the book wasn't good enough. Through all these rejections, she persevered, believed in herself, and believed in her work. She patiently moved from one publisher to the other and from one rejection to the other until the 13th publisher said, "Let's give it a try." Today, the poor single mother who was diagnosed with clinical depression is extremely wealthy. At times in life, you will get to this point where nothing seems to be working in your favor. But I want you to pick up your work and go through with it. Be reminded why you started so that you can keep moving forward until your breakthrough emerges. Finally, let's come to Africa. A young boy dropped out of school because of a severe famine in his village in Malawi. His parents couldn't take him back to school, but he became interested in electronics. He was able to fix the radio for his neighbors and the people in his village. This interest led him to explore a library where he found a book entitled Using Energy. With a limited budget and no support from anywhere, he began a journey to create a windmill that will power his village with electricity and also create a water pump that will supply drinking water to the village. He was heavily criticized for picking items from refuse dump since there were no materials available. He was even called a madman. He persevered and gradually made a functioning windmill that was able to power his radio and a few items in his family house. His perseverance created an opportunity for him to attend Dartmouth College in the United States, and his autobiography book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, was adopted by the University of Florida and Boise State University as a common book required for all incoming students. The book was later adapted into a film. According to network.org, his net worth is estimated at around $18 million. Whenever you provide value, it creates opportunity for you. It is one thing to be rich and another to be wealthy. A rich person may only have money over a short period of time, but when it comes to a wealthy person, his finances are sustainable for a very long time, and in most cases will always remain wealthy. Check the success story of the people we've covered in this video. From the beginning to this time, you will realize that year in, year out, these people are still making so much money and are still wealthy no matter what happens. Even when they sleep, they are making millions of dollars. It is not automatic, but it is a conscious effort they have put into establishing a long-lasting financial freedom. When one has been able to identify an interest, develop his skills, and persevered enough to make some money, the next important thing to do is to pursue sustainability and growth. While researching for this video, I realized that all these millionaires and billionaires either have businesses in multiple industries or an extensive product line in mega industries or both. This is why they always keep commanding so much wealth. The key is to have multiple streams of income. With every day that passes, we all have 24 hours, but at the end of the day, there are people who make nothing, others make a little to survive, and others too are kind of okay. And then there is the top 1% who make millions of dollars every single day. Wealth creation is a gradual process. In 1995, Elon Musk moved to California to attend Stanford University, but instead, he decided to follow his passion and start a company with his brother called Zip2. Zip2 was a web software company that gradually took off, making it a multi-million-dollar business. After almost 5 years in business, they saw tremendous success. Following their success, they were approached by Compaq, which later made a purchase of $307 million in 1999. With millions of dollars, Elon Musk started another company called X.com, which was an online banking system in 1999, with a few other friends. This company went ahead to merge with a competitor named Confinity and later renamed their company PayPal. PayPal took off, becoming one of the most preferred payment systems in the United States. It caught the eye of e-commerce giant eBay, which acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion in 2002. At this point, Elon Musk had accumulated some billions of dollars and had diversification in mind. After this big sale, he started another company called SpaceX, an aerospace manufacturer and space transport service company. He joined Tesla, an electric car manufacturing company, and he helped create another company called SolarCity, which was later acquired by Tesla and renamed Tesla Energy. He also co-founded OpenAI, which was a non-profit research company that promotes friendly artificial intelligence. In 2016, he co-founded Neuralink, a neurotechnology company that focuses on developing brain-computer interfaces. He wasn't done yet. He went on and founded The Boring Company, which is a tunnel construction company. In 2021, Elon Musk appeared on the list of top 10 richest people in the world, taking the second spot behind Jeff Bezos. In 2022, he became the richest man on earth according to Bloomberg and Forbes. Looking at his story, you will realize that it was a journey of continuously creating value, and that attracted so much wealth. It even got to a certain point where he created so much value in multiple industries, putting him to the top and making him the richest man on earth at the age of 49. If we want to describe a man as someone who owns everything, I believe that Jeff Bezos falls into that category. He is the founder of Amazon and has been the richest man on earth for 4 consecutive years, starting from 2018 through to 2021. But the truth is that he only started an online bookshop where readers could place an order for their books and, most importantly, read it online on his platform. He is the man who focused on creating value and building his company for about 10 years before making a profit. He focused on diversifying the income of his company, creating multiple streams which later became the backbone of his company. It is popularly referred to as the everything store because it has literally everything. He also has businesses in multiple industries, bringing in billions of dollars every year. Richard Branson, the epitome of wealth creation. When he was young, he had dyslexia, which caused serious reading disorders. Long story short, he got out of school at a very young age and began experimenting with his entrepreneurial side. Even though his first business, which was into Christmas trees and Bodrigas, was a failure, he persevered to start a magazine business, which he called Student Magazine. A year later, he was worth £50,000. With his money, he began serious diversification into many industries, including media and entertainment, the airline industry, restaurant industry, and a lot more. In fact, as of 2022, Virgin Group, which he founded in 1970, controls more than 400 companies in diverse fields worldwide. This is how the super rich are able to stay wealthy. Last but not the least, let's look at the richest man in Africa, Aliko Dangote. He comes from the Dantata family, known for their wealth in the 20th century. His great-grandfather, Alhaji Dantata, was the richest man in West Africa at the time of his death in the 1950s. Even though most Nigerian billionaires get their money from the oil industry, Aliko Dangote began differently. After completing his tertiary education, he started a retail business, which was into importation of goods. The moment his retail business started making him money, he began exploring other industries, including construction, agriculture, the commodity market, and recently the oil industry. His diversification and expansion into new markets is what keeps the Aliko Dangote brand higher in Africa. The more value you are able to create, the more money you are likely to receive. Finally, making your first money is very significant. It becomes the foundation upon which you grow your worth from a couple of thousands into the millions. Let's assume you have been able to make $10,000 in a month on your own. If you can employ one person to also do the same thing you did, at the end of the month, you'll be making $20,000. If you employ 10 more people, you are getting into the hundreds of thousands. If you employ 1,000, you will be moving into the millions. We all have 24 hours a day, but if you employ more people, you have an advantage of so many hours per day. These millionaires and billionaires have been able to expand their businesses, with some employing over 100,000 people. The point is that find something that works and gradually grow it into a big business empire. That is how wealth is created. Once you are making something, you can expand it and diversify into other ventures to make more. Analyzing the journey of these super rich and wealthy people, you will get to understand that their goal is to build a conglomerate firm that can withstand the test of time. And in other words, they always find a way to give so much value to the people and in return attract so much wealth. Have an interest in whatever you decide to pursue. Find a problem you can solve or a product you can improve. Master the skills and arts. Persevere to succeed and grow your income to be wealthy. Always remember that money is a store of value. Therefore, to have a lot of it, you need to create a lot of value. This is how money works. This is how ordinary people like you and me are able to become millionaires and billionaires. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you don't miss any new video we upload. Until we meet next time, have a nice day.